listening to Ring Chronicles with Lance Vaughn and Glenn Ritchie.
And here's what that means. Finally, your life has meaning. Because finally, you cactus-loving crackheads finally have something worth shooting in your veins.
Oh my God.
As you sit and you look at greatness, finally, The Rock has come back to Arizona.
All right, so that was The Rock last night on SmackDown, calling everybody in Arizona cactus-loving crackheads.
Yes. So if you didn't watch it, apparently Phoenix has, like, according to The Rock or whatever, has like the highest rates of like meth and crack use in the country. So that was his response to being there. Cactus-loving crackheads.
Oh, that was great. Although I do have my complaints about the segment. The fact that it was 31 minutes long, there's only about 15 minutes of actual stuff happening.
Yeah.
But whatever.
It's the WWE.
It's the WWE.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to watch the entire segment in context and just, and also see your complaint about it too, and have my thoughts. And I have not actually seen SmackDown Friday night. So, according Lance, you filled me in. Apparently, there's a tag team match now with The Rock and who was it?
Yeah, so they proposed the match. It's not set in stone yet, but this is what everybody, I think, kind of assumed was going to happen. So it's supposed to be The Rock and Roman versus Seth and Cody for the main event on night 1 of WrestleMania, and the winner. Okay, so the stipulation is that if Cody and Seth Rollins wins, then the Bloodline will stay out of the championship match on night 2 between Roman and Cody. But if Roman and The Rock win, then The Rock's words were, "It's Bloodline rules." So lots of shenanigans is what that means.
So I have a feeling that it's going to be the Bloodline winning.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my prediction because they're gonna want to up the stakes
Right.
for the match with the Bloodline rules.
Right.
So it makes you wonder, like, if that does happen,
Yeah.
who's going to help out Cody? Because Cody's going to need some help.
Right. I don't know. I'm hearing that the deal with Dustin's just not going to happen. So they might have to think of something else.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah. My guess would be Seth Rollins, but that's kind of predictable. But so is the WWE.
So I want to know who didn't want to do the deal. I mean, because you would think AEW definitely wanted to do the deal because of Sting footage.
I think this is all on WWE. I think it's all on Triple H, and I think this is just an ego thing. I think this is just more of them wanting to pretend like they're the only company in the world. So yeah, it's pretty lame. But I mean, there's still time for things to change, but I haven't heard anything different.
We've also had some controversy with Sting coming down from the rafters.
Oh my God! I also saw that Martha gave her blessing to do that stunt.
That's good to know. I wondered about that.
Yeah,
because Martha has been involved with AEW.
Yeah,
and of course, they've done a lot of stuff involving Owen Hart's legacy in AEW.
Right.
And if she didn't approve of it,
mm-hmm.
I would have been. That would have been a bit insensitive.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling I know why she probably approved of it. it was probably done safely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can see the harness that Sting was wearing. It looked pretty hefty.
Yeah.
So, there's several outlets reporting. Martha Hart gave blessing for Sting's Rafters entrance. Tony Khan reportedly got Martha Hart's blessing for Sting's entrance. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So the thing about that, it upset a lot of fans. But I don't know what a lot is. I don't know if that's it's probably a very vocal minority.
Yeah, I assume so.
Okay, because Sting did this spot over and over and over again in WCW, and nobody said a word about it.
And nobody got hurt.
Nobody got hurt.
And the WWE does it once, and somebody dies.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, from my understanding, I don't know how true and accurate this is, but right now I'll believe anything about Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon didn't like the fact that there was all this time of decoupling the equipment after doing the stunt. So Vince McMahon wanted it to be a simpler but less safe mechanism for Owen to take, and so due to wanting to cut some corners, Owen Hart died. Yeah. And there you go. So Martha is upset about it because Vince McMahon essentially killed the man. So where do you go with that? There's a lot of blood on Vince McMahon's hands, and I know Brett forgave Vince McMahon for it, but right now, Vince McMahon's so disgusting and despicable. Let's just pile it on him.
You pile it on.
Pile it on him. Yeah. Let's blame him for that too. Let's just throw it all on him. And if Martha was okay with it, then why shouldn't everybody else be okay with it?
Right. I'm hoping that after that news came out that Martha gave her blessing, that people would calm down about it. But they probably still won't. They'll probably still find a reason to bitch about it because some people just like to be outraged.
Yeah,
especially nowadays, people just want something to be outraged about.
It was Sting doing it.
Yeah.
If it was a new wrestler doing it, I probably would have had more qualms about it. But it was Sting who's done it many, many, many times. Yeah. And like I said, I even though AEW doesn't have the best safety record in its matches, like you said, it looked like very sturdy equipment that they had.
Right.
And it was performed successfully. So there you go. You got it.
Yep.
So I think, I mean, I look for any opportunity to pick on AEW because it's fun to pick on the nerds of wrestling. Like if wrestling was like, a school campus, WWE would be like the preps, and
I agree.
AEW would be like the reject nerds.
I agree 100%.
Yep. And it's fun to pick on AEW.
WWE is the popular kids.
Yeah.
And AEW is the punk rock kids, the metal kids.
Oh, they're not the punk rock kids and the metal kids. They're like they're straight up nerds.
Look, the popular kids don't converse with the punk rock kids. That's just the way it is. But nerds too. But let's be honest.
Basement dwelling.
Metalheads and nerds are kind of interchangeable. Let's be honest.
I'm giving AEW fans a hard time. Apparently, according to actual evidence, they're like college educated, so they probably have like houses and like 401ks and and like the.
Well, it's an older audience, so it's
Right. Although I'd imagine WWE audience is getting older now too, because WWE goes through cycles where they attract a young audience and then it becomes an older audience and it goes back and forth over and over again. Yep. Because obviously, like in the '80s, it was attracting children, and with the John Cena era, the PG era, it was attracting children, and it's not doing that near as much now, especially if The Rock's going out there calling people cactus-loving crackheads. That's not a very PG thing to do.
Also, another thing The Rock did in that segment is he said professional wrestling is as big as it's ever been. He said professional wrestling.
Well,
He hammered it like he made it a point.
Well,
Say
my man's
professional
gone.
wrestling. Right.
We don't have to listen to that crap.
Right.
But my thing is, though, is Triple H, okay, as much as I hate McMahon, he did contribute immensely to the business, so we can't ignore that, okay? And so Triple H has learned a lot from Vince.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think that Triple H has also maintained the integrity of wrestling that Vince McMahon would sometimes betray. The historical the culture that has been a part of wrestling for ages. Vince McMahon would try to make his culture and his, substituting words and changing the jargon, superstars instead of wrestlers, sports entertainment instead of wrestling, things like that. Okay. Triple H is connected to that tradition that predates Vince. He was inspired by Harley Race, who was not, even though he briefly worked for the WWF, but he wasn't a McMahon guy.
Right.
He didn't, aside from being King Harley Race, he didn't do anything in the WWE.
Right.
He was an NWA guy. He was a territory guy.
Yep.
And that was the guy that Triple H was inspired by more than anybody else. And so Triple H has this connection to wrestling history, but he's learned some bad habits from McMahon that we're continuing to see.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think he needs to. Now, with that being said, wrestling is better now than it's been in ages in the WWE, especially.
Yeah.
AEW is actually the one that's, faltering right now. So, the quality speaks for itself, but there still are some things that Triple H is holding on to that I don't understand why. Vince McMahon, I understand he's has a lot of shares in the company and all that, so he still has some influence, whether we like it or not. But the guy needs to cut loose from a lot of that stuff. Triple H needs to
find his own way.
He needs to find his own way, and he's doing that to some extent. But there's some other things that need to be gotten rid of.
I think the whole deal with AEW to get Dustin for WrestleMania is part of that.
Yeah,
I think it's an ego thing. I think it's that's definitely a Vince move. Vince would not make that deal. And a lot of people, I was looking at the comments on our video on TikTok, which is over 30,000 views, by the way. I was looking at a lot of the comments, and a lot of people said this might happen because Triple H is in charge now, not Vince. That was kind of the hope,
and it didn't happen. Dustin should just get a ticket and show up anyways.
Yeah.
We know that won't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just disappointing. It would have been something cool to do for the fans, and they didn't do it.
Or a mysterious guy that has Dustin's build, Midnight Rider 2, shows up with a mask.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
That would be cool, but that ain't going to happen either.
Yeah. So, yeah, disappointing. Just very, very disappointing.
I just don't understand it. The WWE is winning.
Yeah.
And AEW they do stuff with TNA. And honestly,
they do stuff with everybody except WWE. Well, even WWE, that they allowed Chris Jericho to go on Steve Austin's show, his podcast, or whatever.
Right, and that shocked me. And that was with Vince McMahon in charge.
Right. So, what the fuck? It's a simple thing. You give him some footage, and you let a guy show up at one show. Goddamn.
I don't get it.
Yeah. He just does a simple thing. He's sitting at ringside. Some interference happens. He jumps the barrier, saves Cody. It's a simple thing, right?
To me, it would benefit the WWE more to have Dustin there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than for AEW to have Sting.
Sting footage, yeah. I agree.
I mean, especially if, like you said, Dustin interfered in the match.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness.
Yeah.
That would be.
Yeah.
This is what it is. They don't want to get over Dustin, and see, you don't have to have him in the match. You can just have him sitting on the front row with the rest of Cody's family, and just sit at ringside. He doesn't have to participate in the match. You don't have to get him over.
And if Cody wins, he can just celebrate with him, and that's it.
That's it.
It's a simple thing.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't understand, because Triple H had a relationship with Dusty, why he would not let this happen. Yeah, I think it is probably an ego thing, or maybe it's a corporate thing, and there's like lawyers and all that kind of stuff saying don't do it, or I mean there's some bull crap reason.
Whatever it is bullshit. There is no good reason for this. Bullshit.
It would only benefit the WWE. I mean, what would they do with Sting footage aside from honor Sting?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to like get more ticket sales or pay-per-view buys by having WCW footage.
At this point, no, because I mean they announced this several months ago that this was going to be his final match, Sting's final match, and they've had nothing up to this point, and the show's tomorrow. So even if they got it now, they could only show stuff leading into the match tomorrow, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it really wouldn't do anything at all.
Right.
Because I mean, people that are going to go to the show and buy the pay-per-view have already decided whether or not they're going to do that.
So what else is happening tomorrow? Because I'm not up to date on AEW right now.
So Revolution's tomorrow. It's Sting's last match.
Darby Allin and Sting, tag team champions against the Young Bucks, from my understanding.
Against the Young Bucks, yeah. Now the segment they did on Wednesday was pretty good. The Young Bucks showed up, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but the Young Bucks have gone like this whole corporate VP gimmick thing. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it yet.
So they're not wearing like the colorful get-ups anymore and all that shit. They're wearing suits, and they're VPs now, and they walk around fighting people and all this shit. So they show up to the arena, and they both pull out bats, and they're like, "Yeah, we just want to give Sting his exit interview." So they go around the arena.
Oh my god!
So they're going around the arena the entire show looking for Sting.
Oh my god!
They want to give him his exit interview, and they're talking about they're walking through the arena going, Sting, we got a great severance package for you.
Oh my god!
It was actually pretty good. It was pretty good. They healed it up real nice, and the show ended with the Bucks coming out, calling out Sting, and his music hits, and they turn towards the entrance with their bats, and then that's when Sting comes down from the rafters behind them.
Okay.
And then Sting takes him out with the bat. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, classic Sting.
Yeah.
Classic Sting.
Yep. Tag team match for the titles, and they have the titles. So what? I mean, the Bucks, they have to win, no? Or do
not
they
necessarily. They could vacate it.
Vacate the titles after Sting retires.
Sting retires as champion.
Or what's the thing called when somebody can stand in for a tag partner? Isn't that a thing?
The Freebird rule?
Yeah, something like that, where somebody can defend for him or something.
Yeah. Freebird rule.
Maybe they could do that. I don't know.
But to be the Freebird rule, you have to have 3 people already, I think.
What do you mean?
Kind of like with the New Day, they have 3 people in the tag team,
right?
And they interchange in the matches as needed. Okay,
so it has to be established that there's 3 people.
Yeah. You can't just throw in somebody else.
Okay.
I mean, although that has been done occasionally in wrestling history,
right.
where somebody stood in for somebody
Right.
in a tag match because somebody got fired
Yeah.
or just whatever reason
Yeah.
that's happened.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a very famous example of 1993 Slamboree. Ricky Steamboat and Shane Douglas were supposed to fight Steve Austin and Flying Brian Pillman in a cage match.
Okay.
But it wasn't actually Ricky Steamboat and Shane Douglas. They were wrestling as a mass tag team, like a luchador tag team or whatever.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So during the match, everybody quote unquote knew that it was Shane Douglas and Ricky Steamboat, however.
Okay.
And during the match, before Steamboat jumps off the cage, Steamboat unmasked himself, but the other guy didn't unmask himself. You just assumed that was Shane Douglas.
Okay.
But it was actually Tom Z-Man.
Okay.
Because Shane Douglas was fired from the company at that point.
Okay. Okay.
Or let go or whatever. So it was like this double thing
Right. Right.
where it's a masked wrestler
Yeah.
that you assume is Shane Douglas, kayfabe,
Yeah.
but it's actually Z-Man, not kayfabe,
Right.
filling in the role of Shane Douglas being a masked wrestler who's not Shane Douglas.
Yeah.
Don't you love wrestling?
I love it. I fucking love it. I fucking love it.
And, the thing about it is they got me because I remember watching that match as a kid, and I didn't question it for decades.
Yeah.
I was a grown man
Yeah.
before I found out that this is what happened.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. So
what year was that? 93?
1993 Slamboree.
Okay. Okay. So,
While we're talking about things of that nature,
right.
that would be a good clip for
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
for YouTube.
Okay.
Explaining this ridiculousness. Do you understand what happened? Do I need to explain it again?
Shane Douglas was fired from the company, so he wasn't there to work the match. So they had a masked guy to fill in for him.
But the masked guy was Shane Douglas,
right,
but not
right.
Shane Douglas.
But not Shane Douglas, right?
Yeah, but the masked guy was the masked guy, not Shane Douglas.
Oh my God, that's great. That's great to hear.
Yeah. So it was like they were doing a masked wrestler gimmick, and but it was twice over.
Yeah.
Because they were portraying it.
Yeah.
That's like if you had Mr. America,
Yeah.
who everybody knew was Hulk Hogan,
Yeah.
but you had like Batista playing Mr. America.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's what it was basically.
Okay. I got you. Oh my God.
And they would do the gimmick
Yeah.
of like everybody knows this is Hulk Hogan, but it's actually not Hulk Hogan. That's what happened.
Oh my God.
Of course, that would have been hard to pull off because the Mr. America costume
Yeah.
showed more of Hogan's physique, and so
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been easy to have another wrestler portray
Right.
Hulk Hogan. But these costumes were completely head to toe
Okay.
wrestling costumes, masked.
Okay.
And Z-Man had a physique that was similar enough to Shane Douglas.
So it was like the Los Conquistadors, which was Edge and Christian.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
They had those gold suits.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the gosh, what was the tag team's name that faced them? Where's my phone at?
Okay, so what was that tag team?
Dos Hombres.
Dos Hombres.
I looked it up.
Okay.
Yeah. That was a great time and a great moment in wrestling history for trivia fans.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God.
How many of y'all knew that, listeners? I'm curious. Did anybody know that?
Yeah. Of course, I'm sure some people pretend like they did.
Oh, yeah, because of Google.
Yeah.
I know a lot when it comes to Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Revolution. Sting and Darby against the Young Bucks for the tag titles.
What else is happening?
World title match, 3-way match, Samoa Joe, Hangman Adam Page, and Swerve Strickland.
Is Samoa Joe still champion?
He is.
What are the chances you think of Swerve Strickland actually winning the belt?
I don't think it would be a good idea to take the belt off of Joe yet, because it feels like he just won. He's had the title for about 2 months now. So I don't know.
All right, that makes sense.
I'm thinking no. But we'll see. I'm leaning towards no. Let's see what else is there. TNT Championship, Christian Cage against Daniel Garcia. What else is going on? Why don't I just pull up the card?
What about my my favorite AEW female superstar?
I think she's hurt right now.
Oh.
So I don't think she's doing anything.
Well, I won't be getting the pay-per-view.
Where's the card? Come on. Where's the card? So Sting's last match we talked about. AEW World Championship we talked about. AEW Women's World Championship. Toni Storm against Deonna Purrazzo. AEW International Championship. Orange Cassidy against Roderick Strong. Continental Crown Championship. Eddie Kingston against Bryan Danielson. Will Ospreay against Kaneshige. I can never remember how to pronounce the name. Takeshita, yeah.
Take a shit. I saw Takeshita on a sign on this video. It was this YouTube video where this apparently like there's an epidemic of loneliness in Japan.
Okay.
And you can basically rent a girlfriend. Yeah.
Is that legal?
It's not an escort thing. It's like renting a girlfriend to like go with you on like dates and stuff.
That sounds like an escort.
Well, there's no happy ending
that we know of.
Well, at least not according to this video.
Okay.
Maybe the guy was just a gentleman. I don't know. The way he presented it to me was a legitimate business.
Okay.
Not illegitimate. And so anyway, there was a street. And it was like Takeshita Street. And the guy mispronounced it. And I was like, that's Takeshita Street. Because I watch wrestling and I know how to pronounce Takeshita. You know? He called it like Takashita or something like that. And I'm like, that's Takeshita.
Takeshita, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Takashita. Oh, man. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, the TNT Championship, Christian Cage and Daniel Garcia.
By the way, I think Takeshita's great. I don't know why Jim Cornette gives that guy a hard time.
I don't know. And this will be, by the way, that'll be Will Ospreay's first official AEW match under contract, because they signed him a while back, but he had to finish up his New Japan stuff. So now he's like full-time AEW.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, so.
They thought he was going to go to WWE for a while.
Yeah, that's what I kept hearing. But he was probably more interested in wrestling than talking on the microphone. So,
and being with his edgelord fan vibe.
And there's a little bit of story there too, because he's part of the Don Callis family.
You know, I hate to admit it, but if AJ Styles would have left New Japan after when AEW was around, AJ Styles probably would have went to AEW.
Yeah, I could see that.
Which would have.
Well, I mean, he is one of many members of the Treehouse Club.
Yeah.
Along with Kevin Owens and a bunch of other people. There's a lot of people in that treehouse.
Yeah, so. But they love those WWE paychecks.
They do like those paychecks. Okay, so where'd I leave off?
You were talking about Takeshita and Ospreay.
Okay, yeah. And then TNT Championship, Christian Cage, Daniel Garcia. A tag team match, FTR against Moxley and Castagnoli.
Oh, God.
By the way, Moxley has gone, I don't know what the number is, but he has gone several consecutive matches without bleeding. It's been a long time since he's bled.
Has somebody checked in on him?
I don't.
Is he secretly bleeding?
He goes backstage. Oh man, I gotta bleed. Oh man. All right. And then there's some kind of, what is this shit? All-Star 8-man scramble. Okay. This is Jericho, Powerhouse Hobbs, Lance Archer, Wardlow. Who the fuck is that? Magnus. I don't know who Magnus is. Brian Cage, Hook, and then there's a secret entrant.
Okay, I don't care about that. Go back to Moxley not bleeding.
Okay, what about it?
I'm really my brain's trying to understand why the change. Like, did somebody tell him to tone it down, or like you only need to bleed on like
had to have been
pay-per-views, or
something had to have been said.
Did like his doctor? That's why I say we need to check on him. Like,
Yeah.
like the guy loves cutting himself.
Yeah.
And it not in a I'm depressed mental health kind of way, but in a I like cutting myself in front of people
Yeah.
kind of way.
Yeah.
Like he likes that stuff, man.
Yeah.
And
Now we got a pay-per-view coming up. He's probably going to gush.
yeah.
Maybe he's just saving it all for the pay-per-view.
I don't know how blading works. Maybe if you hold it for a couple of days, like you bleed more.
He's just saving up all his blood.
It's like
unload.
holding your bladder.
Yeah.
Going all at once.
Oh my god.
I mean, is that why it's going to happen? Yeah. Like, is he going to just start spewing blood out of his head? Like it's a dadgum Kill Bill film or something? Like, what's the name of that director? Whatever. That, you know what I'm talking about. That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be like
Tarantino or whatever film.
You went and saw Gwar with us. At least
yeah.
Once, didn't you?
Yeah, I've seen
how
Gwar.
The character spray blood into the crowd. It's going to be like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be spraying blood. He's going to be spinning around in a circle, spraying blood everywhere.
Yeah. If you haven't seen a Gore concert, you've missed out. At this Gore concert, they decapitated the president of the time.
Yeah.
And out of his neck hole was blood spewing like 20, 40 feet into the crowd. It was fake blood, of course, you know. Yeah. I mean, actually, it wasn't even fake blood. It was water with
red
food coloring.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it was. And I remember going to Waffle House afterwards, and we were all covered in like all these different colors,
bodily fluids.
Yeah. And people were looking at us like we were nuts. Yeah. That's what's going to happen with John Moxley. Like everybody in the first 3 rows is going to be like covered in blood after this match because he's been holding the blood in.
Yep. And then I was wrong. Julia Hart does have a match.
Oh, maybe I will get it now.
It's a tag match, but it's 0 hours, so it's the pre-show.
So I don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, you don't got to pay for that one. It's Julia Hart and Sky Blue against Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale. So yeah, that's the card for Revolution.
So was this? I keep hearing whispers of Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks.
Yeah, she's supposed to appear at the March 6th Dynamite or March 8th. It's next week. She's supposed to show up at the Boston show.
Man, yeah. I hate that WWE's losing her.
Yeah,
they've already lost her. I just a part of me hoping that they would take her back. and then she would take them back.
So what happened there? Was there some drama with her leaving, or was there just her contract up?
So she walked off.
Oh,
She was upset with how they were booking the women's tag team division.
yeah.
And to be honest with you, the women's tag team division has been booked very terribly.
Okay.
My biggest complaint with the women's tag team division in the WWE is that there are very few dedicated women's tag teams. So, like, you know, in men's tag team wrestling, there are like the Bushwhackers and the Steiner Brothers and
FTR.
Doom and FTR and
Established tag teams.
established tag teams. In women's wrestling, you don't have that. You have these thrown together teams.
Yeah.
With some exceptions, like you have, okay, like for example, this is a terrible name, by the way, the Twinkle Twins, which is Caden Carter and Katana Chance. I mean, great tag team.
Mm-hmm.
The Twinkle Twins. Like,
I don't know what that means.
and I don't know, but Katana Chance is one of the best wrestlers in the company as far as I'm concerned. All people disagree with me on that, but they're wrong. And I think she's great. Anyways, but they've been a tag team since the NXT days.
Right.
So in my opinion, they're an established tag team. So an established tag team is not just thrown together. They've been together for a while, or they they are more likely to have matching outfits and things like that. You like with that tag team, you see that they have matching outfits and stuff like that. You don't see that with a lot of women's tag teams. They're just thrown together. And so that's my complaint about women's wrestling in the WWE. They've also had a lot of bad luck with like wrestlers getting injured after winning the tag titles and stuff like that. It's just been a bunch of bad luck and bad booking altogether. Now they have a women's tag team division. That's something you don't see in AEW. You don't see it in a lot of places. So they're still going above and beyond what most wrestling companies are doing, but it's still not well booked. And so Naomi and Sasha Banks were the tag team champions, and they left because they just walked off. And Naomi is back. She's married to one of the Usos, so she's got some bloodline connections.
Okay.
So that's probably how she got back in. But I guess Sasha didn't want to come back. I'm sure Triple H would have took her back, but Sasha's gotten into the nerdy neckbeard crowd lately, and wrestling in Japan and coming over here, and now going to AEW. So I don't know what she's doing. I mean, it's just I don't know. Maybe she had a discussion with Kenny Omega about anime, and they just had a bond, and then she came over. I don't know. I don't know what's happened. I wish she'd go back to WWE, but I guess it's too late for that now.
By the way, I was off on that announcement. So the show is on March 13th. It's called Big Business. So that's Wednesday after next, and that's supposed to be when Monet shows up.
Is that a pay-per-view? Big Business?
No, it's just a special Dynamite.
That's a terrible name.
I thought it was too, but we could probably sit here for a while and talk about bad names for shows in wrestling.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, you could go back to In Your House.
Oh man.
Actually, Survivor Series. I don't like that name. I never have.
When I first got wind of a lot of the the WWE pay-per-view name changes, I thought they were really stupid because I noticed that a lot of them were being named after a match.
Yeah.
And then I realized, well, you got the Royal Rumble. That's named after a match.
Survivor Series.
Survivor Series is named after a match. So I guess calling the show Hell in a Cell or Money in the Bank isn't that bad, but
I don't mind those names.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite bad pay-per-view name is Capital Punishment when they were in DC.
Oh man,
That's the match where R-Truth fought John Cena for the world title, or WWE title, I should say, or whatever. I don't remember what it was. I think it was the WWE title, but anyways, yeah. Capital Punishment. Yeah, it was a one-time deal.
I don't know if I should bring this up, but you know what the name of the pay-per-view was where Owen Hart died?
No.
Over the Edge.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I knew that, but I forgot it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about some of the WCW pay-per-view names at the very end when they were dying?
I'm not sure if I'm familiar with those.
Some of those are pretty bad. Let me see if I can look up bad WCW pay-per-view names and see what comes up. They had some real bad ones like Spring Stampede.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have bad names. It just has 24 worst WCW pay-per-views ever. And almost all of them are 99, 2000. Best and worst WCW pay-per-view names. Battle Bowl. Sin. Oh, my God. Greed. Some of them are good, though, like Halloween Havoc.
Yeah.
Starcade.
Yeah.
World War III was not that great. But I guess for wrestling, it's okay. I love Fall Brawl, though. Fall Brawl.
Yeah.
Doesn't get much better than Fall Brawl.
What about Hog Wild?
That's terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, there were some pay-per-view names that just, pretty bad.
On the Brock Lesnar Undertaker streak video, I mentioned Bad Blood, and that's not a good one in my opinion. A lot of those in your house pay-per-views that were given names were terrible names.
Yep. Let's see. So you've had No Way Out, Backlash, Judgment Day.
They still use Backlash.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's still the one after WrestleMania?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called WrestleMania Backlash now, which is terrible.
Okay. Let's see what else you have. Fully Loaded.
I'm trying to milk that WrestleMania as much as they can.
Fully Loaded, Unforgiven, No Mercy. And then December's had several. Rock Bottom, Armageddon. I think Bad Blood was a December pay-per-view, if I remember correctly. Do we want to go on about Sting for a little bit, given his last match?
Sure, I think it's
tomorrow?
appropriate.
Yeah. So I came across, I was just kind of like scrolling through YouTube, and I came across a match of his. I think it was in 95. It was on Nitro against Flair. And I haven't seen a match like that in a long time. And it got me to thinking, I've never heard anybody talk about his in-ring ability. It's always been about the character when people talk about Sting. But yeah, I was like, this is a good match. And I was like, I just realized I never heard anybody talk about whether or not he's good in the ring, if it was just all gimmick and character for him.
Well, yeah, I think that's what people focus on because his character is so, whether it be the Surfer Sting or the Crow Sting or the Joker Sting or whatever Sting version we're looking at, his characters were always over.
Yeah.
They
were all a good look. They looked great.
Yeah.
And they kind of sold themselves.
But you're right. Sting was great in the ring. Now, as I've talked about before, in ring, with some notable wrestlers who are great exceptions to this, like, Dean Malenko and Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, people like that. But wrestling, WCW in-ring quality went down sharply after Hogan appeared.
Okay.
It was steady state downhill.
Okay.
Okay. Prior to Hogan's entry into WCW, WCW. Well, it's kind of like how AEW is now in that they're selling the wrestling quality. That's what AEW does now, is they sell the wrestling quality. The difference is AEW sells wrestling quality flips and 630 splashes and tope suicidas, while WCW sold mat wrestling with some aerial wrestling.
Right.
You know, I mean, yeah, you had like Jushin Thunder Liger versus Brian Pillman when he was a face and stuff like that. You had some aerial wrestling in WCW, but it was mostly mat wrestling with some, you know, strength stuff going on. And Sting could do a little bit of everything. Yeah, he could fly. He could do the big time aerial maneuvers in and out of the ring, off the top rope, whatever. He could do submission wrestling. His freaking finisher was a submission hold. Yeah, he could do power moves, like gorilla presses and things like that.
I saw several of those, by the way, in that match I was watching with Flair. And I don't know if there's a different name for it, but the gorilla press I understand to be you press them over your head, then you drop them.
Yeah, Sting would do one where he would turn them on their back.
It was like a fireman's carry, but with your hands.
Yeah.
He did that like 3 times with Flair. And I'm like, I haven't seen that in fucking forever.
That's what Sting did. That was very common Sting move. Back then, and I can't tell you how many I saw in my life. Right. Watching, I watched Sting my whole life. Yeah. You know, I first encountered Sting in probably '92, and he immediately appealed to me as a young kid because you had Surfer Sting with the colorful face paint, and you know he was super strong. And that's another thing too about Sting. His size was deceiving. Okay. He would do moves that you would see like Hulk Hogan do to wrestlers at nowhere near being the same size as Hulk Hogan. Yeah. I don't know if Sting did steroids or not. I haven't checked into that. Yeah. But he was big, but he wasn't that big. Yeah. And I don't know whether he did it or not, but he was bigger when he was like younger. Yeah. So maybe that's when he was in a steroids phase, but he could do aerial maneuvers that guys like Hogan couldn't do.
He was definitely smaller when he went with the Crow Sting gimmick. Yeah, like if you, because the match I was telling you about against Flair, that was in '95. So the Crow Sting was what, a year later, maybe? Yeah. So and so if you look at that match in '95 and you look at Crow Sting, you can tell he's smaller. Yeah. So,
and he was smaller as that Sting than he was when he was in the UWF teaming with Ultimate Warrior, and they were the Dingo Warriors or whatever.
Right, yeah.
I mean, what the Dingo Warriors? Like what the? I mean, come on. Anyways, I'm sure he was probably on the roids when he was with the Ultimate Warrior. Yeah, Ultimate Warrior probably had like, you know, that stuff on wholesale. You know what I mean? Yep. So he, you know, and he did get smaller over time. He's always stayed aerial. Hell, when he was in his 60s, he did a dive off the daggum ladder through tables and stuff. Yeah. Knocked out one of his teeth. Yeah. So he's always been agile. And he could do matches with Flair. Flair was his number one opponent in his career, in my opinion. He could go against anybody. Yeah. You could put the man in the match with anybody. And he could put on a good show. You put him up against a big giant wrestler like Vader, he would pick him up and slam him. Yeah. You put him in a match with somebody that did high flying moves, he could match it. Yeah. You put him in a match with someone like Steven Regal and do the mat stuff. I don't know if Sting and Regal have ever fought off the top of my head, but I'm sure they have. Sting could do it too. Sting could wrestle anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And make him look good.
Good. And Sting did what was asked of him to do in WCW. He was a company guy, and he went. I'm surprised Sting didn't leave when Hogan came, because for a long time Sting was pushed out of the main event picture.
Before or after Hogan?
After Hogan.
Oh wow!
Okay,
up.
so I don't think Sting won a. Somebody might. I don't think I'm wrong on this. From the moment Hogan entered the company, I don't think Sting won a world title from that day in 1994 up until the Starrcade in 1997.
Holy shit!
And Sting was their main guy.
Yeah, yeah.
For the longest time.
Yeah.
He had to take a back seat to
The NWO,
Hogan and Macho Man, but he reinvented himself with the Crow gimmick.
Right.
And that went over. And here's the thing. He didn't say a word for like almost a year. Mm-hmm. He would just show up in the rafters and point his bat at people. And that's all he had to do.
Yeah.
And then you had the time that he was the fake Sting, and then he took his mask off, and it was Sting. That was a great moment in wrestling history. We're talking about double things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I've seen
Yeah.
that.
He takes the Sting mask off, and underneath the mask, it's Sting.
Sting, yeah.
With the face paint, which doesn't really reveal that it's him because you still can't tell, but you know it's Sting.
Oh man.
I got to talk about one criticism of Sting, though.
Okay.
This is about the only criticism you're going to have from me. He was a terrible heel.
Okay. Well,
Late WCW.
Okay.
They tried to turn him heel, and he would go out there, and his promos were terrible because he didn't know how to be a heel.
Right.
He'd go out there, I'm going to beat you with my bat.
No, okay. That just jogged a memory. I seem to recall you and the fan of Vince Russo talking about he had returned, and basically his whole gimmick was, "I'm back and I got my bat."
That was it. That was it. That was his gimmick. That was his gimmick as a heel.
I'm back and I got my bat.
Terrible work. I don't know. Was he ever a heel in TNA? We'd have to get that guy that likes Vince Russo to let us know. I don't
remember.
I don't know.
Was he a heel when he was Joker Sting?
I doubt it.
I don't remember.
How many times has Sting been a heel? Let's look it up. Oh my God. Okay. So on SmackDownHotel.com, there's a pro wrestling database.
Okay.
And it tells you everywhere that he worked and his alignment for his whole entire career. Okay, this is crazy. So check this out.
Okay.
SmackDownHotel.com. Face, November 1st, 1985 to January 1st, 1986. Heel, January 2nd, 1986 to May 30th, 1987. And that's probably the UWF stuff.
Yeah.
Face, 1987 until September the 11th, 1999.
87 to 99.
Yeah.
It was face the entire time.
He was face the entire
Holy
time.
Shit.
So he was a heel from 99, September 12th, 99 till November the 20th, 1999. So they realized pretty quickly that was a terrible thing. So he went back to being the face from November 21st, 1999 to October the 22nd, 2008. And I guess this is his heel TNA run. October 23rd, 2008 to October 9th, 2010. To be honest with you, I don't know anything about his TNA heel run.
Yeah, I don't either.
To comment on it.
I don't recall anything.
Maybe that was a Joker Sting. I don't know.
Yeah.
But his heel work in WCW was absolutely terrible, god awful. I'm back and I got my bat. So yeah, for all intents and purposes, he was a face for the majority of his whole entire career.
Yeah.
There's other wrestlers that have been a face for either all or majority of their career, and there's been some that have been a heel for all or majority of their career. One particular face was Ricky Steamboat, which strangely Steamboat had the coolest last name,
Yeah.
Blood. That was his real last name, Blood.
Really?
If Steamboat came out a generation or two later,
Yeah.
he could have went by his real name, Richard Blood,
Right.
and gotten over.
Yeah.
That's his real name.
I'm assuming Sting was face during his Triple H feud where he was fed to Triple H.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a face in WWE all the way through.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something else we need to talk about. Oh my God. WWE botched Sting.
Yeah.
Everything they did was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to hear some more Seth Rollins rants? Why in the world are you going to do a buckle bomb, which has injured so many wrestlers, on a guy that at the time was in his, I think, 50s?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did Seth Rollins, I mean, he could have passed on that move. He could have done something else, but it ended his WWE career.
Yeah.
And in AEW, he's, well, partly because of his age, but also I think because of his, nagging injuries, he's had to wrestle almost exclusively in tag matches. I can't think of one AEW singles match he was in.
I don't think he was in any singles matches. At least I don't recall any.
Yeah.
Almost all of his work has been with Darby since the beginning.
Well, it was smart booking because it hid Sting's weaknesses at his age.
Yeah. One of the matches was a cinematic match. It was done in like an abandoned warehouse or something. So I mean so doing it that way, it was really easy to hide, anything he couldn't do.
Yeah, they learned that trick from The Undertaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one match I showed you that was glorious.
AJ Styles.
That was glorious. Yeah. Oh my God. So yeah, Sting, they botched him in WWE, having him fed the Triple H. Why? What good did that do? Is that what the fans wanted? Is that what anybody but Triple H and the WWE wanted?
Right. I think it was another Vince McMahon grudge against WCW. We took out their best guy. We win. You already won.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
At least they got Sting in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, anything else about Sting?
I think you covered it pretty well. Yeah.
All right then. Well, I guess I ain't got nothing else.
All right. We'll come back next week. Until then, we'll see y'all later.
Peace.